To that music. I didn't want to come on this thing. We are tuned in to 108 Praise Radio, and this is the Hot Wife Hot Life show. I am your host, A Love, and with me I have my two fabulous, fantastic, and amazing co-hosts, K Rich and A Fox. Say what's up, ladies.
Yeah, hey, I love that. I love those words and those adjectives you give us.
Amazing. Yes. Well, all right, as we said, this is the Hot Wife Hot Life show, and we are so excited to be here this evening. We have a marvelous topic coming up, and we have someone here in the studio with us who's going to bring us and drop that deep knowledge that's going to help so many marriages, so many relationships to, get back on track. If you have not tuned in to any of our social media, tonight we are going to be speaking about how to revive a dead marriage. So I know some of us have been there and done that. We have survived, and some of us have not. But for those who are going through, understand that you are not alone. It has been many of us that have dealt with this same topic, but we have managed to make it through. So hopefully you will get some good information tonight that will help you in your pathway to just getting back on track and renewing that love, renewing that connection, and just making sure that, your marriage is back where it was when you first started, if not better. So to help us with this topic, we have our in-studio guest, who is not other than Miss Stephanie Herbert.
Woo!
Hello.
Woo!
Welcome.
Thank you.
She is the owner of On the Moment Counseling Services. Stephanie is a licensed professional and nationally accredited counselor. So she can bring so much in-depth information as pertains to this topic, I'm sure. Stephanie, introduce yourself and let them know some information about you.
Well, you did a great job, and thank you very much.
Thank
you so much for having me. I don't feel like a guest anymore.
Absolutely, your
Happy
family.
to drop in when I can. I'm Stephanie Herbert, as she mentioned, On the Moment Counseling Services, which happens to be located at 210 Paulding Lane. Been doing services there for about 3 years now, and one of my specialty is couples.
Great.
Amen.
Awesome.
Amen. Yes.
That's all for now.
Well, with that being said, because you specialize in couples, I know that you have probably ran across this topic on more than one occasion, correct?
Correct.
And would you say that when people are coming to you, is it a lot of despair, or do you have people who are really coming to you with the hopes that they are going to be able to revive the marriage?
Most couples that do come are coming with hope that they can revive.
Right.
I've seen both sides, though. I've seen, one spouse who has felt like they've given all, and the other spouse who not so much. So I've seen it both ways, but normally it's coming for hope, hoping that something will change.
Good.
For the better.
And, I tend to think that, a lot of people really are, I guess, turned off by counseling. They think that, how can somebody else tell me something that, I already know or don't know, or how are they going to change what I'm already thinking? But it seems like those people who come seem to always, the percentages are very high once they come to someone to speak about their situation and discuss it openly and have just that other person's point of view that helps them to kind of get over their hump. Would you agree?
I totally agree. I normally ask the question for anyone that comes and sit before me, have you ever been in counseling before? And then what does it mean to you? And it's always surprising the answers that I get. I most recently had a couple that came first time and asked both, what did it mean to you? And the spouse actually said, the male said, it's man bashing. You're going to agree with the female, and you're going to side with her, and, it is just bashing men. However, at the end of just the first assessment, he was surprised, and, they're moving forward with doing one of the services that I offer, which is Prepare and Enrich, which is it's a marriage enrichment, a premarital package, as well as just marriage counseling.
Okay.
So they are doing that program, and that seems to be the most popular one that I do currently.
Okay.
So,
Good.
and I'll talk more about it later as we get into it.
Well, you know what? While you mentioning that, I did take the liberty, and I know the other ladies probably have some information as well, but just to kind of look up some things that people felt would be beneficial to reviving. And out of the 3 things that this particular article had, one of the things was to seek counseling to breathe life into your marriage. But they did say that a lot of people, really have trouble with counseling simply because it makes them feel weak and vulnerable. And it makes them feel helpless. So I guess it's kind of like sometimes when you're dealing with something on your own, you kind of feel like, you'll be okay, you'll work it through. But once you expose it to somebody else, it makes you feel inadequate. Or it makes you feel like you said, like the men feel like it's going to be male bashing because you're going to put the blame on him versus looking at it as a whole, because it takes two for anything to happen.
Exactly.
So based on what you've done thus far, how do you feel like the percentages are with people coming in, being able to have counseling to help them to, get to that next level and overcome the issues and challenges that they have?
Well, I can honestly say, based on the increase of sessions that I'm doing and calls that I'm receiving, that I think is more receptive. Most of my clients now are coming by word of mouth, being referred. There are a lot of new couples getting married, and so they hear how important premarital counseling is. So I would actually say that people are more accepting. And that's why I kind of like to get an idea about, what do you think about counseling? What does it mean to you? Because it's, and once they tell me how they feel, I add to that, I look at it like a personal trainer. You normally go see a personal trainer because you have goals. You either want to eat better, you might want to gain muscle, you may want to prepare for an event. Whatever your goals are, you take those to that personal trainer and y'all collaborate. And you come up with some obtainable goals, but you do the work.
Right.
So, and that's the difference. So once, I get that across and they understand that this is something I want to work on, this is something I see that there needs to be some changes. What we're doing is not working. And that's usually the people that come. What we've been doing is not working.
Right.
So they're normally open.
So how do you feel in terms of, a lot of people I don't think take advantage of premarital counseling, and a lot of times wind up having to revive a dead marriage because a lot of times you go in with different expectations. What you think a marriage should be is not actually what you get. Even if you've been dating for a long time, or even if you have lived together with somebody, actually becoming married, I think, changes your perception of what you think what your relationship is going to be. So do you find that when you have people coming in for premarital counseling, it sets them up for a better marriage?
Definitely. And even though some couples that, even though they may not come in for premarital counseling, even if it's because we're having problems, I always go back to, well, did you have premarital counseling? And 9 times out of 10, what I'm hearing is no. So, the newer couples that are engaged and they know that, say there's a program that's you can sign up for it, and I also give them a certificate at the end. They get a discount on their marriage license when they complete the course. But aside from that, most of them say they haven't done premarital counseling. So we talk about, the first things that I would bring up in a premarital session is deal breakers, boundaries. Have y'all discussed that? Have you talked about how family will play in your marriage? And most times we didn't discuss that. We didn't talk about it. So,
So when they say love is blind, they jump into that thing and think it's going to work out, and then you start realizing we got different point of views about things. I didn't know you wanted
Everything.
Right.
And maybe a puppy.
Right, exactly. Right. It's very important. Your backgrounds play a big difference. We come from different backgrounds, different upbringings, and, that our point of view comes from that. So when you come together, you make a lot of assumptions, and you're assuming it's going to be the way I know, the way I grew up, and that person is thinking the same thing, and then you come to a crossroad, and that's when things,
start unraveling. Yeah, I can see that. Ladies, y'all have anything to add on to that?
Well, actually, one of the most important components that I found why I thought this topic was extremely beneficial, actually, this was something that happened recently. So there was a group of people talking, and they were having general conversation. There were 4 couples, but it was 4 people that represented the couple. Their spouse wasn't there, but they were just talking amongst each other. And literally 3 out of the 4 couples were miserable. They talked about how they hate being married,
Wow.
that they would never do it again, and that let me just go take this phone call and see what she wants, And I thought to myself, wow, we definitely have, a tragedy because so many marriages feel this way. There are so many dead marriages, people that are just walking around existing in their relationship. There's no communication. There's no sex. And even if it is, it ain't good. Then there's no, wanting to date anymore or feeling insignificant with someone else. Again, the communication, which is key. People feel like they communicate, but there's good communication and bad communication. Some people don't talk at all, or when they're talking, it's just to hear their point of view. They're not really listening to anything. So with that being said, I would love to give, I know we can't tackle every kind of scenario because there's so many different ones, but if we were to generalize, generally speaking, and a lot of them said if they knew now, they wouldn't have ever got married. And a lot of single people are like, God, I want to be married. And married people are like, don't do it. So, how do we help someone? So just let's take communication for example, because we talk about this all the time, and we know that it's so key and instrumental in a marriage. What is good communication, though? Because not everybody knows what that is.
Absolutely right, and that's like the primary, I think, the foundation of a relationship.
Yes.
And I think when you don't have that, your foundation of marriage is weak. It's shallow as far as because you can't get to the next level if you can't communicate. But key elements in communication is listening is number one. And listening to be understood or to understand, not just to, respond because that's what happened. And a lot of times when you get to a point where you don't have communication, there's so much pain involved that one person is responding out of pain, and pain gives frustration and anger. I mean, that leads to frustration rather than anger. So they shut down. They may not be used to an aggressive communicator, someone that's, they say, well, I'm passionate because I'm yelling or I'm talking loud. But if you're not used to that, then you may shut down when your mate begins to talk loud. That's just the lack of communicating, talking about it. So just being able to listen for understanding, not just listening to respond. One thing that, I've heard, and I believe that the greatest addiction, more than alcohol or drugs or gambling, is the need to be right. So,
That's good. And would you typically say, to be honest with you, as women?
I see it both ways.
You
it's
do
hard
see
to
it both
say.
ways?
Yeah.
Okay.
That need to be right, rather than just, sometimes you just have to give in. Sometimes you have to just forgive. You really have to start over at some point. We can talk about, and I tell couples this because I get the man, the spouse, the each significant person in the relationship wanting to tell me their faults. Well, he did this, that, this, and she'll come back with, well, he did, and we can talk about these things all day. However, how can we move beyond that and get to the real issue and talking about the hurt and the pain and being open and vulnerable? Because you have to do that as well.
Yes.
That's what's going to get you communicating.
That's good. Do you find that because what I see sometimes in most couples a lot of times is they're definitely guarded.
Yes.
You would think in a marriage, your guard would be down, and that's the person that you're most transparent with. And here's where I see cycles, right? So when you first start dating and you guys are talking, what's the first thing that you say when you're dating someone and you guys are feeling each other? Oh, we talk for hours. We was on the phone for 4 or 5 hours. You get married, you done fell in love. This the man of your dreams. You like, I don't even want to say nothing to him. You know what I'm saying? Like, for real. Where does that breakdown come from? Because a lot of times people will say life happens, but it's like literally, how did we transition from we talk all the time to we don't even want to talk about finances together without getting mad. And this is just real. You know, I'm coming to you from what I've heard people tell me what their issues are in marriage, and why they're so miserable, when we wouldn't have to be if we were all on one accord, you know, together. So like when that transpires, what is a good, you know, what is it that we can do to get past those hurdles, you know, when we're in a marriage, trying to just to enjoy a conversation with each other? Why are we so guarded and we don't tell them anything anymore? At that point, you start, you know, keeping secrets, and then you'll only give part of your opinion, because I hear it all the time. I ain't gonna say nothing to him because he's so hard-headed, he don't want to listen. And then the guy will be like, I don't feel like hearing her darn mouth. You know, she gonna always have something to say, so I'm not even gonna go in there and say anything.
But that's probably it. Wouldn't you agree, Stephanie, in that when you hear that, or when the first time you feel like somebody has shut you down or shot down your idea or disrespected whatever you feel like was important to you, from that point on, you start getting more and more guarded, because now you feel like, well, if I say it, you're not going to respond to it or appreciate it or even think of it in the way that I put it out there. You've already got your mind made up. That's a dumb question, or that's a dumb decision, or why should I do that again? So once you start getting those type of responses, don't you agree that going forward, it just makes you more and more less likely to even want to continue in that conversation about anything, because you don't want to be shut down.
Right. True. And it, again, goes back to communication, though, because there are some couples that communicate very well. And I think it's important that when you're communicating for both parties, that you feel heard.
Right.
You know, if you never get an opportunity to say what you're feeling because you get shut down, or, you know, you feel like you can't because they're going to get loud, or whatever the case may be, and you end up never saying what you feel, you know, oftentimes the communication get turned around, well, what about me? What about what I feel? So you never heard what I said.
Right.
And so now we are not listening to each other. And that's when it starts. And I'm sure y'all familiar with the 5 love languages, right?
Correct.
Okay. So with that, with the 5 love languages, the point of that is understanding what the other person needs. You know, it's all about knowing, you know what it took to get you. Why did we stop doing those things? Because if you didn't stop doing what it took to get you, or, you know, what was special in the beginning of the relationship, if you never stopped that, you wouldn't have issues. But we stop. And oftentimes it's just because we're not focused any longer on each other's needs. You know, if you thought about, how can I make this person happy every day, then you wouldn't have that issue. Or knowing the love language, which are acts of service, physical touch is like one as well.
I think it's affirmation.
Words of affirmation. So if your mate is giving you gifts, but your love language is words of affirmation,
Right, then that's not going to work.
they can give you gifts all day long, and you're going to appear unappreciative,
Right.
but they're not
'Cause
giving
it's not
you
as important to you
right
as it is to them.
exactly. So
That's good.
you know, and those love languages is what we need to fill our emotional tanks.
Right.
And so when that goes lacking, then this gap between you just widens, you know. And that's one way to get back to it, is knowing what your partner's love language is and then doing it. And you have to make a decision. You know, you can fight, we can not speak, which is called stonewalling, which is one of those things that can really kill a marriage, you know.
That is just, and that is the frustrating part. Like, I really do know couples where they don't even talk. They put notes on the refrigerator.
right.
We got to get to that point, deuces.
Yeah.
Because what are you here for? We can't even talk. You know,
Right.
I can't. It frustrates me if we have had, you know, a disagreement and we're not talking. I feel like I'm walking around in eggshells in my house when we should be. And even if we're not talking about at that particular time, what's silence gonna do? It ain't gonna go nowhere. The situation's still where it is.
But for the person who's doing it, and they do say that's normally by the male, stonewalling,
Just saying.
you know, but what that does is it's a form of control, you know. It's like not wanting to deal with the issue, not giving you what you want because I know you want to talk, but I'm not going to talk because I know you want to talk. Okay, so defiance.
Mean.
It is.
That's petty.
It is, but it's also like feeling like that's the only way you got control of the situation.
Right.
You know, it's all about what's important to the person that's doing it.
Right.
There's always a purpose for behavior.
Absolutely.
You know, so yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. Go ahead. We're going to take a break. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. This is Kay Rich. We're on 108 Praise Radio, and you're listening to Hot Wife, Hot Life. Again, if you want to call in, 770-415-2149, 770-415-2149, and speak with the expert on how to revive your relationship. We'll be right back.
Lee Lewis here, publisher of Women of Wealth magazine and founder of Global Women Empowerment Foundation. Have I some good news for you? I am so excited. You do not want to miss this. King, queens from Nigeria and Ghana really coming to America. You have the opportunity to sit with them, talk with them, meet with them, engage in business with them, coming to America just to see you. You want more information on this? Give us a call, 786-510-3571, or check us out, Women of Wealth Magazine at gmail.com. Hi, Dr. Lee Lewis here.
415-2149-770, 415-2149. And we have our expert, Stephanie Herbert, with us tonight as we talk about how to revive a marriage. She is a licensed professional counselor, nationally certified counselor. Kudos. And so, and she is giving us she's dropping nuggets, people. So you need to tune in, call in, get your questions answered. You can stay anonymous. You know come on, you got something to ask. Come on. So let's get right back into it. What were we saying on the last before we went to commercial?
Well, I know that we were really just talking about relationships and communication, and not only between the communication between the couples themselves in terms of just how you day to day, deal with each other and all of that, but also, in the article I was reading, one thing it also said is that a lot of times you suffocate your marriage because of the negativity and because of the words that you choose, because you're using negative words and negative thoughts. And in order to revive it, you got to do the opposite. You got to start speaking life. You got to start saying things in a better manner, in a better tone. Because a lot of times, I think we've all heard that it's not necessarily what you say, it's how you say it. Right. That can make a huge difference. And so I think that that's very important. Would you agree, Stephanie?
Absolutely. And along that line of when you do disagree, because there will be disagreements and there will be conflicts, okay? I mean, it's just a normal part of life, a normal part of just being human. You're going to have conflicts. But when you're having conflicts with your significant other, you don't want to say things that you can't take back. So it's those words, negative words, calling each other out of your name, saying things that tomorrow you can't say, I didn't mean to say that, because it's too late. The damage is done, and it sticks with you. So
sticks and stones, it's not always sticks and
yeah,
stones.
It
I mean,
does,
words, people remember words from
Exactly.
Before
years
anything,
ago.
yes.
Yes. I mean, not to say that sticks and stones won't hurt you, because it will, but at the same time, when you heal, a lot of times you don't even remember injuries.
Right, exactly.
Like that.
Right.
But you can remember something somebody said, and you may be able to forgive them, but you'll never forget.
Exactly.
And you'll always think in the back of your mind they feel that way about you.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if they've moved on and they were just saying it to hurt you at that time,
but
you just don't
inside of
forget
you
it.
is like, I know you meant that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
so you want to stay away from that, because you really can't take that back. That's where, sometimes a relationship is irreconcilable differences, because that's all you're doing is just throwing low blows and, negative thoughts, and then you're speaking negative. And then when, that person wants to have an intimate moment, they're not going to share certain things with you now.
Right. Especially if you're throwing up old stuff, that you share. Like you said, when you're on the phone talking for hours and hours, and I'm sharing stuff and telling all my business and thinking, we in love. So, you want to hear everything about me, and I want to tell you everything about me. And then later on down the line, when you're mad, you may not have said anything in the beginning because you were still trying to get me.
Exactly.
But now that you got me, and now that you're mad, now you want to throw that back up.
Right.
And so that begins to be a problem.
Right. And I suggest, have some type of word, some type of way to stop yourself before it gets to that point. A timeout, a safe word, timeout. Let's try this again tomorrow, whatever, but don't go there. Don't, because whatever angers you controls you. And when you allow yourself to go that low, it's all about your emotions right then, You're hurt, you're frustrated. You can't, exactly. So stop yourself.
And it's good to have that support system. Okay, so I think I think men talk too. We know they talk to men too. But more so, women will go to their girlfriends and tell them what they're going through and how upset they are. And, some of our friends be like, girl, turn up, do this. Don't be thinking about him and this and that. So one of the components was, being around people that support your marriage because, we love our friend. So if we see you getting dogged out, it's not that they're trying to break up a marriage, but you don't want your friend going through foolishness, and sometimes, married women are guilty of getting advice from single women. They're single for a reason and not dogging anybody out, but a lot of times they like their independence and freedom. you have a level of independence in marriage, but at the end of the day, it's a daily compromise with someone else.
It is.
So it's a different mindset when you're dealing with someone every day and having a compromise with somebody who free and don't have those issues. So she'll tend to be like, girl, I wouldn't be putting up with that foolishness. Well, of course you weren't. You're single.
Right.
You wouldn't be putting up with it because you don't have anybody that you have to answer to per se or be responsible. Because I think, to me, in marriage, y'all are responsible for each other. People say, when you say that, they get so like, what? Ain't nobody responsible for me. But in marriage, you guys are if you have a solid marriage.
Technically, biblically speaking, you're supposed to be one.
That's right.
So at the end of the day, when you have someone who tells you, a lot of times as women, we tend to say things and vent. I just want to vent. I don't necessarily want you to tell me what you want to say. I just want you to be quiet and let me vent and be like, girl, I know how you feel. It's going to be all right. Because a lot of times you just want somebody to kind
bounce
of get
it
that,
off of.
bounce that idea off. And a lot of times you give your own stuff. You know in your heart
what
you
to
need
do.
to do.
Yeah.
Right.
You just need to be able to vocally put it out
Exactly.
there so that it can come back in your ears, in
Right.
your brain, in your mind, so you
Right.
can go home and be like, okay.
But I was going to say that we have to be really careful about that because your friends and family don't forget.
They don't.
Exactly.
And that's what happens is then, they like, you
They looking sideways.
they
and
like,
crazy
well, you just
every
called me
time
last week
Yeah.
and was telling
You
me,
can call an attorney because I got on speed dial.
but next
Right.
week, but the next day you're all in love because
Exactly.
y'all done made up. And
Exactly.
then they over there with the turn up face. 'Cause
Right.
They like, did you just call me for 4 hours last night venting in my ear about how you can't stand him. So,
Right.
so you have to be really careful about it,
Absolutely.
especially with your family
Yes.
and your mother.
Yes. Because
We-
it ruins a relationship
I'm
between
telling
the
you.
in-laws.
Yeah,
It really
so-
It's
does.
hard. I mean,
It
it's hard
is hard.
because I know if my girls came and told me into things.
Right. Absolutely.
It's really hard to separate it. Even
Well,
if you know,
I mean, like my daughter calls me, and I know my child.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So that's why I'm like, what you do?
Right.
And she always said, Mom, why you always say what I do? Because I know you.
Right.
I know you
Right.
first. I don't know them as I raised you, so I know. Get them side out. You're not
I'm
gonna
already
do
gonna
it.
be like,
And not saying that I'm taking up for the person,
right.
but I'm saying that take responsibility.
Yes,
and
right.
I know that you have a temper. I know that you do certain
Yeah.
things that can, as with anyone. And when you live with someone, you're gonna get on each other's nerves. I don't care who it is. At some
even
point,
the smallest things.
Yeah.
what the old folks used to say, everything stink after a while. You know what I'm saying? So after a while, it's just like, okay, I need some space. Back up, give me a moment, because everybody gets on each other's nerves. So again, I just think we have to be really careful of what we say and who we say it to. Yes, we need a confidant. Yes, we need a sounding board or whatever, but they ain't gonna forget y'all. They
No,
gonna-
and
Yeah.
you're right. You
I'm
do
just saying.
have a few, very few select. First of all, if your circle is tight anyway, where you very careful about who you're letting into your life,
Yeah.
but they're only gonna be those few friends that allow you that opportunity and don't take it personal.
Right.
Because again, my thought process for my closest friends is, if you like it, I love it. You can vent to me all day long,
Right.
and I can vent to you and say, hey, even what he does pisses me off, whatever the case may be. But if I see y'all together, I'm gonna love him just like you
That's
love
my-
him.
that's
you
my brother.
understand?
It's
And most
non-judgmental.
people cannot
Most
do
people
that.
cannot do
Exactly.
that. But according to this, and that's good you brought that point up, because even in the article it says to surround yourself with people who have that mindset.
Yes.
To encourage,
Who encourage
exactly.
you
Yes.
to,
Not
work
discourage
things out.
and tell you to
not
kick
jump
it to the
in and
curb.
say,
Jump in
Yeah,
immediately.
right.
They just be, here we
Right,
go. Yeah, I
right.
can get her out. But what
Right.
Oprah say, surround yourself with people who don't want what you have. You see what I'm saying?
That's
See, you have to be
good.
real
That's
careful
good.
about venting to people because they may
Can
be
celebrate
looking,
you, basically.
instead of, because
Right.
if they're hating or they're jealous,
Right.
or they think you have something they don't, they're gonna be very quick to tell you leave that alone.
And
Right.
look, or slide them little
I always
innuendos
got
on
some
the
little-
side, for
Some
real, because
shade,
that's
for real.
how
Some real
some of
shade.
those open doors get. Your husband sitting over there, she thinking in her mind he really is a good guy.
Right.
You venting over here talking about him. Some kind of way them conversations leak to him. Leak.
Right.
Next thing you know, we got a 3 issue, okay?
Right.
That, and you do, so yeah, you definitely have to be mindful of that.
so.
But let me ask you guys this, like, as it relates to, just dealing with, a man who, just say, for instance, you have someone that, especially a spouse who just feels like they're set in their ways, and they don't necessarily, like, they want to stay in a monotone way. And we've talked about this
Yes.
before. Am I the only one in America? Seriously, because I do feel this way sometimes. Like, you know how you just said, this is why I'm bringing this up. You said that eventually, the old folks tell you eventually everything stinks. Am I the only one that feel like, dude, one person for the rest of your life with all these people in the world, and you don't think you're going to get bored or tired or agitated or frustrated? Or am I the only Christian person out there that feels this way? Because I know I'm not. The reason I know I'm not, because 67% of them are getting divorced.
Right.
So at the end of the day, I know I'm not the only one that feels that way. But honestly, I say that to say it is work.
It is work.
I don't think we tell people enough. You got to remember, this is one
you should
person.
know. You
There's
should
no
know.
variety.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
There's no changing.
Right.
This is it.
But
One-
you know, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Steph.
Well, one of the things, Tony Robbins is one of my mentors, and one thing that he says is every human has 6 needs, and I
Okay.
believe that. And it's a need to be significant, that's important.
Yes.
A need to be have variety.
Okay.
You just mentioned if
Yes.
everything was the same, it would be
Monotone,
boring.
yes.
Okay, so there needs to be some variety. A need to feel connected and loved. A need to contribute and growth. You got to have growth.
Yeah.
Okay, there has to be. Your relationship should go from one level to another level.
Yes.
The things you argued about in the first 3 years,
Right.
if you're together in 9 years,
Right.
you shouldn't be arguing about those same things. Okay, there should have been some growth. And it takes 2 people. That's the other important factor, that both people have to want it.
Yeah.
And
That's
both
true.
people have to be, both individuals have to be willing to do the work.
Yes.
Okay. And you said it best. It is work.
Yes.
You can't. It's like anything. If you don't take care of a car, it'll fall apart.
Yeah.
You have to do that maintenance.
Yeah.
You have to do that. You can't just keep driving it.
Yeah. Yeah.
For years and expect it to.
I love
sustain
that. I also think that we have to remember that each person is an individual. I think did we talk about this last week or the week before? We are one. Maybe not. Okay, so that was me on a webinar. Sorry, my bad.
HotWife-HotLife, people. Let's keep it
Hey,
in.
my bad. Bring it back. Bring it back.
Bring it on in.
But we have to remember that each person still is an individual, and you're growing also. So you're changing also. And I know when you brought it up, we started laughing because I always tell you how boring my husband is, right? And I call him boring. I love him, but he is. He's very comfortable. With routine.
Yes.
And so I'm not comfortable with routine. I like to shake it up a little bit, and so, but I had to learn to be okay with routine for him.
Yes.
Because I was trying to change him and make him do what I do and what
That
I
won't
like.
work.
And I was being frustrated and
Yeah.
unhappy because I was trying to make him be something that he wasn't. Well, he's who I met.
Yeah.
He's routine. I'm not.
That's key.
So I had to learn how to sit down and shut up and let him be him and know that he's okay with me being me.
Yeah.
See,
That's
he's
so
comfortable
important.
in his skin. I wasn't comfortable in mine enough to let him be him. You see what I'm saying? So we have to get to a point where we understand, okay, it's okay. He may
Right.
not want to go everywhere you go or do everything you. That doesn't mean he doesn't love you.
Right.
That doesn't mean that the marriage is over. But I think a lot of times we get caught up in each other so much that we think, oh, he don't want to. He don't want to travel with me, or he don't want to talk to me. Leave the man alone sometimes.
Find you something
made
to
a
get you a
marriage.
good outlet.
Get you a good friend, like you said, or be okay with yourself.
You
Right.
add to somebody else, the person who doesn't want to do all that, you add to
Right.
their frustration.
Yes.
And
Exactly.
again, it speaks to the love language because you're wanting to put them in a position
Position
of
that-
what
You want, and
and
it's
you're not
not-
thinking about what they want.
Exactly.
You know,
Or what
and-
they
and-
what need what they
or what their
need.
needs are.
Yeah.
Right. And in an ideal relationship, you're always looking to put your significant other's feelings and emotions
First.
and needs first.
Yes.
And I feel like for me personally, I believe that a lot of times we get in these situations because we don't take care of ourselves either. In the
Yeah.
very beginning, you're always,
doing
for
it.
somebody else, and you're always putting yourself, because you want to do what they want to do. You want to go eat what they want to eat, and you kind of sacrifice all of yourself for it. So you set it up incorrectly, because now they think, oh, I thought you loved pizza.
Well, you got it.
Well, I ate pizza for the first 6 months of my relationship
but
because,
no.
I was trying to, get
Please
it.
you, exactly.
But now that I've got you, I don't want to eat pizza again.
Right.
But we set those false expectations
Exactly.
up
Absolutely.
because
That's
we
so
tend
key.
to
But like
just
you
kinda-
said, that's communication.
Right, but it's for one, not having your standards and priorities set up and not
Right.
communicating that, okay, I do like pizza, it's just not
Not
every
every
day.
day,
I do
not
like
every
that
Friday.
song, I just don't wanna hear it 45 times in a row.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you just
Right.
gotta really be able to know yourself.
Right.
Going in, know what you're looking for, know what you want.
Yes.
And when you do those things and you take care of yourself, you
Right.
have something to give. You don't mind, you don't feel frustrated when you're trying to do something for your spouse.
Exactly.
Because you're doing it from a full place, not an empty place. 'Cause that's when
Exactly.
the frustration starts
Absolutely.
sitting.
Exactly.
That's good.
And one important thing Kipa said was loving him for who he was when she met him.
Yes.
Because that is also key. Our minds tend to say, well, if he was just this way, just a
Especially
little
them
bit,
women, boy.
I
Women
would
do
love
it.
him more. But, and I always tell couples, you love him for who he is, not for who you hope him to be. Because if you're hoping him to be something else, you wanting to change him. And that's not going to work.
Exactly.
So,
especially if you're in a work environment and somebody else compliments you all the time and says,
Right.
"Steve, I love that hair, I love that dress," but your spouse
have
may
some
not do
problems,
the same thing.
Right.
But I'm saying that if he hasn't been
gonna have
doing
some
that,
problems.
then
Don't expect him to
you
do
shouldn't
that.
go and
Yeah.
expect him to do that, because that's not who he is.
Or
Right.
if you do expect it, have that conversation.
Exactly. You
I
gotta
think
tell
the
'em
problem
first.
is right,
Assumptions.
unexpected.
Yeah.
Right, assumptions.
Yeah.
And so we keep things bottled up, and then we get upset because we don't feel like they're hearing us. Well, you ain't said it.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Or maybe you haven't said it in a way for them to
Exactly.
understand. And it's so important because we're so passive, aggressive when it comes to communication. I know, and he's over there like, what? And he's so used to your attitude, he just ignore you at this point. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Well, the funny thing too is I'm gonna play the other side of the coin. What about the men who can't take the wife
That's
who's
true.
always running the streets,
Yeah.
having a good time? Or a man who was going out all the time when y'all dated. He used to play pool with his boys. He get married to you, and now you
Want him
want
to
to
stay at home.
be in the house,
Right.
or whatever the case may be.
Watching Netflix and chill.
Right. And
There's
he
gonna
like,
be
dude,
conflicts.
I was,
That's what-
I was
Yeah.
playing pool for.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know we went out every Thursday night. Stop playing.
So,
But I
No,
think
it's the
again, it
flip
goes
side
back
of
to
that.
being comfortable with yourself,
Yeah.
True.
being okay with yourself, and that's what I think. We don't know ourselves, and we're not comfortable
Yeah.
enough with ourselves to be good alone for 5 minutes for 2 hours while he
That's
go out
true.
with the
That's
boys.
true.
You know
It
what I'm saying?
is.
And,
It
and,
is.
That's true.
and if your insecurities are that strong, again,
Time for
you
help.
need to address that
Yeah.
because. Oh my gosh, like it's only going to get worse. You're going to drive him away or you're going to drive a wedge into the relationship some kind of way.
I believe that. I really do. And it's funny it's funny that you say that because even when you're dating sometimes, I see women who will cater to whatever they think the guy wants. That ain't nothing they want. I mean, like, seriously,
And
they
miserable.
do stuff, and
Yeah.
they be just like, but I'll give you a prime example when we talk about next level loving, okay? That's what I call it, next level loving. When you got your football player. That's another A Fox original. Don't try to take it. Is
that next week?
I'm going to go get it paid, copyrighted right now.
Is that next week?
You know what?
Okay,
Let's do
all
that.
right, go
Let's do
ahead.
that.
All
But
right.
and what I meant by that is like when we get into the celebrity loving, when you have people who are significant in a, whether it be a politician, whether it be a sports figure, whatever the case may be, literally they'll do their homework to see what it is, this person, and they will be whatever they need in order to make it work. You know what I'm saying? Or to get that $1 million check or to get that $1 million
right.
person. So at the end of the day, a lot of women will start off a relationship just being something totally different. Hey, Stevie. I just had to say my husband just walked in the door. The better half of me.
Yes.
I just want to say that, Steve, this has nothing to do with you. I wasn't discussing you at all. We're good.
Y'all on that next level.
We're on that next level loving, baby.
I love it. Nothing wrong with that.
Yes.
So funny. But Stephanie, so with that being said, I know we were talking about when you do get into a position where you feel like the love is gone and you feel like you're at your wit's end and there's really no hope. What are some things that you can suggest to help people to start their way to seeing some light at the end of the tunnel?
I think you got to start with communicating. I really believe in the love language because we have an emotional tank that needs to be filled. It's similar to what you said. You can't pour from an empty cup. If you're constantly being frustrated and not feeling loved, not feeling appreciated, not feeling valued by your significant other, then you're emotionally drained.
Right. Yes.
So there has to be something to fill that up. And so that's why it's important that you know each other's. And you have to start somewhere. It's like when are we going to just start over? So you have to have some place to go back to and say, okay, we've been 6 months of this same battle, not speaking, not touching, not communicating. Where are we going to start? Somebody has to start
The
it.
bigger person
Right.
realize that it's not really
Right.
about
We gotta get somebody else in
It's
here to
about
help
us.
us.
It's
Right.
Right.
That, or you make a choice. You make a decision. I'm going to fight for it, so I'm going to do what I know they love. I'm just going to
It's really
sacrifice.
losing a whole war just
Yeah,
for a little battle.
exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And so you'll find, it's like kill them with kindness. If you give, then they'll reciprocate. And then, you start building again. And I just think that's important to start.
Amen.
All right. Well, that hour flies by.
Does
I'm
it?
telling you, every time we look
realize
on,
it.
like
It's 10
10
o'clock.
over.
I know. We could go on and on, but that just means, Stephanie, you got to come back. You got to give us more
Yes,
nuggets
definitely,
for
definitely.
the next one. And right now, you guys have been listening to Hot Wife, Hot Life, but we have 2 initiatives before we go tonight. We were speaking about them at the beginning of the show, of the Angela Foxworth show, and now we are going to talk about it again. Hiring right now interns. If you are interested in graphic design, admin, data entry, audio, video, social media, this is the opportunity for you. It is a ground floor opportunity, and we could really use your talents. You don't know where this train is going to go, so you better jump on, like James Brown says. You like that, don't you, Love?
Get on this train.
And what is near and dear to us, of course, is the One and Done campaign. Listen, I am so excited about this because, number one, not bragging or anything, but Peoples is really supporting Angela Foxworth, and I really appreciate that. You guys are coming in with the donations. It's been such a blessing. Don't stop. Keep going. And what I tell everybody is just give what's in your heart. Just don't try to give me 50 cents. It has to be at least $1 or more, okay? Or lots more, whatever you feel like giving us, because these proceeds, first of all, it's going to help us to keep positive media in the mainstream, which is what we're trying to do, and we're going to be supporting the vets, which are so near and dear to us. My husband knows he's a veteran, Marines, baby, in the house, and I'm telling you, they just do not do enough for the veterans. So to have this kind of nonprofit is simply amazing. So when you give, just give in abundance. It's going to come back to you, I promise. So don't forget, you're going to be seeing those flyers on and for the hiring of the interns at www.108praiseradio.com.
Yay.
Yes, indeed. And we just thank you so much. This has been another rich show, ladies. I'm telling you, it has been the bomb.
It's
I
getting
hope you
better
guys,
and better.
yes, and I hope you guys get a lot out of it. Marriage is so important, and it really is a beautiful thing.
It's
we just
fun.
want you to be
It's fun
realistic
if you want
about
it to be
it.
fun. It's what you make it, really. It's what you put into it. It is,
Exactly.
yeah,
So
definitely.
Monday Domination is closing. We're so sad about that, but listen, that's okay. Next week, we're going to have yet another amazing topic that you guys will know about.
Level loving.
That's what I'm saying. Next level loving, baby. And we're going to get there. And so we're going to have something to be excited about. Now, that one might not be for the children because we're going to talk about intimacy in that particular. We didn't tackle that tonight, but intimacy in a marriage is really key, to be honest with you.
Yes.
And so we definitely want to bring that up next week, and we'll make sure to keep that parental guidance, in accordance with how we roll here at 108 Praise Radio, the integrity level here at 108 Praise Radio. So we thank you so much. Tune in. A-Love, close us out.
Good job.
Stephanie,
You like
could
that.
please let anybody know if they
Oh,
want
where
to
to
get in
find you? I'm
contact
sorry.
with you, if they
Yes.
need to speak with you, if they need some counseling, if they need to be revived, how can they get in contact with you?
Absolutely. So again, on the moment counseling services, you can go to my website, which is www.findhelp4u.com. That is the best way, and all my social media. Yep, all my social media is there. So that's how you reach me.
Awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, definitely if you are having some issues, don't be in despair, because talking to a good qualified person can really change things. It can turn it around, and before you know it, you'll be, more in love than you've ever been before. So we highly recommend it. Stephanie is an
Yeah, it
amazing
does. Yes, she
counselor. So,
is.
definitely you cannot go wrong by, getting in contact with her. So please reach out if you feel like that is something that you do need in your marriage. But again, as A. Fox said, this is Monday Domination, and we are so excited that you guys tune in every single Monday night at 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. to listen to us. So again, you can find us on social media at _HotWifeHotLife on Instagram and Twitter, and then of course it's HotWifeHotLife on Facebook. So again, thanks so much for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you again next week. You guys have an awesome night.
Good night.